All right, everybody. So right now, what we're going to do is 9-1E, the customary units of weight. It's very much like the customary units of length, but we're going to talk about weight. Remember that the customary units are what is done in the United States, or how we measure things in the United States. Weight, specifically, is how we measure is the measurement of how heavy an object is. So it's how heavy the object is. The measurements that we use, the first one we use is ounces. An ounce is like a slice of bread, okay? The other measurement that we're going to talk about is the pound. A pound is like a large tomato. We abbreviate ounces as OZ, and we abbreviate pounds as LB. Now we're going to do the comparisons. 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. Be careful when you're making a 1 next to the LB that you don't mistake the L in LB as a 1. The next unit of measurement we're going to talk about is the ton. A ton is something that's very heavy. Think of a buffalo, or think of like a car. Very heavy things are measured in tons. 1 ton, and the T, it's represented as an uppercase T, is equal to 2,000 pounds. Okay, so 1 ton is equal to 2,000 pounds. Our first example that we're going to talk about is 5 pounds is equal to how many ounces? We're going to convert this 5 pounds into ounces. So I'm going to rewrite it up here. We have 5 lbs, or 5 pounds, is equal to how many ounces? Remember that we write the relationships underneath. So under pounds, I'm going to write pounds. Under ounces, I'm going to write ounces. And then I say to myself, 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. And how do I go from 1 to 16? I multiply by 16. And so what am I going to do up here? The same exact thing. I find out what the relationship is on the bottom so that I know what to do on the top. And then I do 5 times 16, which is 80. If you need to do 5 times 16, please do 5 times 16. So 5 pounds is the same exact thing as 80 ounces. I'm just going to erase. And we're going to go on to our next example. Our next example is very much like the last one, except for one difference. It's going to have a fraction in it. I'm going to convert 1.5 pounds into something ounces. Let's look and see how we do that. We make 1.5 pounds, remember LB is pounds, into something ounces. It's the same exact thing that I did before. I'm going to write the relationship underneath. I'm going to write LB and ounces, pounds and ounces. 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. How do I go from pound to ounces? I'm going to multiply. And also be careful, the O does not look like a 0. So 1 times 16 is going to be equal to that. And now what are we going to do with the top? How do we multiply the whole number and the fraction by 16? We do it in pieces. First, I multiply the 1 times 16, which is equal to 16. Then I multiply the half times 16. What is a half of 16? A half of 16 is 8. Then I'm going to put them together. I'm going to add them. 16 plus 8 is equal to 24. So 1.5 pounds is equal to 24 ounces. And now I'm going to erase. Okay. The next example we're going to talk about is converting pounds to tons. So let's say I have 6,000 pounds. Oops, one too many. 6,000 pounds is equal to how many tons? Same as before, I'm just going to relate the relationship underneath. Pounds and tons. The relationship between pounds and tons is that 2,000 pounds is equal to 1 ton. How do I get from 2,000 to 1? The number is getting smaller, so I'm dividing by 2,000. Okay? So whatever I'm doing on the bottom relationship, I'm doing on the top relationship. Dividing by 2,000 pounds. 6,000 divided by 2,000 is 3. If you need to do it on the side, please do. 6,000 divided by 2,000. Okay? Remember that the zeros cancel each other out and that it's equal, 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3. Okay? I'm going to erase. I'm going to have our next example. Our next example is when we're converting something and you see, for example, 56 ounces is equal to something pounds and something ounces. If you see the original unit in the answer, that means that there will be a remainder in this problem. So I'm going to rewrite the question on the top. 56 ounces divided by or equal to something pounds, something ounces. Okay, so same thing as before. I'm going to write the relationship of ounces and pounds underneath it. Remember that 16 ounces is equal to 1 pound. We're going to go from 16 to 1. The number is getting smaller. If the number is getting smaller, we are going to divide. We are dividing 16 by 16 to get to 1. So if we're dividing by 16 down here, we're going to do the same thing here. Okay, and I'm going to do that over here. 16 divided into 56. 16 does not go into 5, so I'm going to put a little X there. Optional. You don't have to do that. 16 goes into 56. If you do not know it, start adding your 16s. 16 plus 16 is 32. Then another 16 is 48. And guess what? Another 16 is just not going to cut it. So we're going to do 3, and that's going to be a 48. And then that is going to be subtract, borrow the 4, that's a 16, and that's an 8. Now, this 3 is your pounds. There are 3 pounds. The leftover, the remainder, is your ounces. So 56 ounces is equal to 3 pounds, 8 ounces. The next example we're going to do is going to be a comparison. We are going to compare 2 weights. The first weight we're going to compare is 16 pounds and 246 ounces. Now you say to yourself, which one is the bigger unit of measurement? Is pounds bigger than ounces, or is ounces bigger than pounds? Pounds are larger than ounces. A tomato is heavier than a piece of bread. So we're going to take 16 ounces and 16 pounds, and we're going to make it into ounces. Once again, we write the relationship underneath, pounds and ounces. 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. We always look for the bigger number because the bigger unit of measurement